Hello and welcome, Rikki Schwartz. This is Rikki. You are actually the inaugural first guest on the podcast.
No pressure, Jen. Okay.
I have promised my audience that I know influential, successful people. So anything you can do to make me look good would be fantastic. Um,
Same here. Anything you can do to make me look good.
and that is the sister, pack. It is like we need more women out there dedicated to helping other women look good because it's
Yeah,
hard enough out on our own. Don't you agree?
I do.
Yeah, I do. So the point of having guests on our podcast is we want to hear your story of resilience. We want to hear your hero's journey, as they say. And, like, because I think I really do. I believe in this notion that because of social media and creative marketing, shall we say, that people really fantasize about having a business without any real notion of like, hey, the rest of us out here that aren't lying about it, like we doing the work. We're doing the
Yeah.
work. It's normal. And I want people to just hear like what other women have been through. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about where you started in terms of creating a business, what your life was like before. Like,
Mhm.
let's just start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, when I went to college, we'll go back just for a second.
Just a
All
minute.
I all I wanted from my academic career was to find a job easily and I would never lose it. That was my goal.
Mhm.
I was raised by a single mother, and we were always kind of afraid of where our next paycheck was coming, so to speak. It was just she and I. And I remember said, whatever job you get, make sure that the demand is always going to be there. And so
Security.
I went into physical therapy. It wasn't until I was 3/4 of the way through it that I realized I hated it. And everybody in the faculty knew I hated it too. So they said, why don't we take a little break? And if you decide to come back, you will. And I didn't. So that was kind of my first failure, if you will. But I'm like,
Mm.
well, what do I do now? I mean,
Yeah.
now I have nothing. So I went to the faculty director at the time, who was in charge of the physical therapy program at U of M. Wonderful man. And I said, now I have credits, some credits in physical therapy, but you can't use those anywhere. What do we do? And I tell this story because I was, again, raised by a single mother. We didn't have any money. I'd spent all my money on all these credits I wasn't going to use. And he said, I'll tell you what, we're going to take all your physical therapy credits, which you were almost done, and we're gonna convert them to Bachelor of Science credits. That was the first time I realized that we can make a difference in someone's life that is so immense and so lifelong. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that he made it possible for me to actually go on in life. So he converted all the credits. I only need to take one more class, and I ended up with a Bachelor of Science in biology. I didn't know what I was going to do with that, but I had a degree, right? So that was a good
Nice.
start. And then Ford Motor Company was hiring environmental control engineers. So I thought, well, I have a degree in biology. I got that job at the time they were hiring anybody with any science degree because it was right as the EPA was starting to take effect and everybody who had hazardous waste was in a panic. What am I going to do to transfer this safely and store it safely? So I got a job at Ford. And from Ford, then I went to waste management where I was doing pretty much the same thing. Got promoted several times till I became a vice president and really thought that's where I was going to retire. Did I like the garbage industry? No, not particularly. Nobody really likes the garbage industry. But did I like solving problems? Yes. People had problems with their hazardous waste. And did I like leading people? So in the beginning, I led one person. By the time I left, I was leading about 100. In the beginning, I had about $1 million revenue. By the time I left, I had about 100 million. And I never thought I was going to leave waste management ever because I was making a good penny and I was working remotely for at least probably 15 of those years. And I had my golden parachute. I was set. And then the rift came and they let me go. And I was not in any way prepared for that. My good colleague, friend and colleague got let go the same day, and I spent the whole day saying, "It's gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay," and then I got the call. I'm like, "Well, don't I feel like an idiot? Because now I have to tell all that to me."
Uh-huh.
So nobody in the world, expects to be riffed after being with a company that long, and it was, I think, I don't even remember, 2001 to 2018, something like that, so about 17, 18 years. And I thought, "Well, I have no idea what I'm gonna do now," because I was single. I had put a lot in savings, so I wasn't desperate, but I was scared. And as part of the severance, they gave me, a coach, a career coach through a company called Right Management. And, I'd never heard of career coaching, I'd never had it before, I never needed it before. And I got a coach named Zach, and he just gave me stuff to do, and I was so amazed at how tasks got me over the hump. Just doing the homework and getting it to him, and him showing me what my value was and my value proposition, all these things I'd never thought of. I was just had a job that I could make money. And I thought this man kind of saved my life too. I mean, in a way, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know. And I got a job at a called the Center for Agile Leadership. I had been a student of theirs once when I was with Waste Management. I love the course. It talked about how you teach and lead and mentor agilely, which is not it's not just a catchphrase. It's really actually a great leadership principle, although it's become a catchphrase. And I said, "Do you need any coaches? Because I'm not working." And he said, "Well, actually, we remember you from when you were in class. All of us talked about you afterwards," which I don't know if that's a good
Oh,
or bad thing, and I don't want to know.
right,
But I was like,
right. Mhm.
"Okay." And
Uh-huh.
he said, "I'm looking for a president of the division of Center for Agile Leadership. Would you want to be the president?" Sure. I love the concept. I love the leadership concept. I love that I'd be coaching and mentoring. That's what I loved about working for Waste Management. Sure. And I was really happy there for a couple years, and then the pandemic hit and we were shuttered. So at that point, I had a background that was left brain, very science, right brain, very empathic, active listening, right? Talk about, and I'm like, I don't even know what job to apply for anymore. I don't even know who I am anymore because I've kind of been both. But I saw a posting from Zach, who'd been my coach at Right Management, and he said, "We're hiring coaches in the post." And I'm like, well, I've never done career coaching. I've had it. And I kind of did it when I was in a job. So I took the job with him. And that is where I still am part time, working for Right Management as a career consultant or a career coach. But right before I went with him, I thought, I'm going to kind of start my own career coaching business, not to live off of. It's actually life and career coaching. But because I love it so much, let's just see where it goes. So when I took the job with him, I was doing some My Turn Life Coaching. That's the name of my private company where I do life and career coaching. And then I started working as an adjunct coach for Right Management. And as the months and years went on, it was a perfect situation because I didn't need to feed myself with the My Turn Life coaching. I could just take the gigs as needed. And then I learned so much, right? They paid me to learn from them the best way to career coach and all the resources and all the market ins and outs and so forth. So now I do both. Um, and it's funny because as part of career coaching, people, not always, but often say, I think I want to start my own business. And I always have to like, okay, but you need to understand that it's not what you think it is. It's never what people think it is. They think I'm going to be my own boss. No, you're not. The customers are your bosses. If you're on a board, the board is your boss. If you, I mean,
Yep.
everybody's your boss. It's even
Mhm.
worse than having one boss. You usually have multiple bosses who are going to tell you what to do, be irrational sometimes, be wonderful sometimes. So I always tell people, let's talk about your personality. Let's talk about your expectations. Let's talk about why exactly you want to be self-employed, and it's not
Yes.
just be your own boss. I
Uh-huh.
explained to them the Social Security taxes is twice as much because you're both the employer and the employee. Most people have no idea. I explained to them about health insurance. They think, oh, it's probably going to be like $300-400 a month. No, it's much closer to 1,000.
Mhm.
So, so I think like everything else in my life, everything that I went through, good and bad, I use and I use and I use. And it continues to this day. And that's what makes this job, the My Turn Life Coaching and the Right Management, so fulfilling because the universe had so many things in store for me. I had no idea. And it just put them here and said, okay, you're miserable for a minute, but put a pin in that. And
Yeah.
they put something else here and you're miserable for a minute, but put a pin in that. And now I'm able to take other people out of the fetal position that I was in when waste management riffed me. And when we went shuttered with the pandemic at Center for Agile Leadership. And now when I wake up, I realize my career's almost over. I'm going to retire probably this year.
Ah,
Medicare
what?
kicks in November, so I'm very
What?
excited about that.
Okay.
So I just know that I'm ending my career with the most purpose driven thing I could imagine. And so all the other things, the hassles of running your business, kind of fade away because it's what I was meant to do. But if you're not doing a private business that you were meant to do, or you don't think there's going to be all the hassles and even more hassles of having a full time job, be careful. Just be
Yeah.
careful. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good story. You are the living, breathing example of life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yes. I
And
really am.
yeah, and I wanna go back to, the beginning because that's a very good place to start, as they
I
say.
think I've heard that.
Have you heard that?
I think I've heard a song somewhere.
Someone sang that somewhere. My question really is, though, how did you muster up the courage, like, 7/8 of the way done with a physical therapy degree,
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, stop the bus," because like, what was the final thing that made you say? Because so many people,
Yeah.
honestly, Ricky, at that
Mhm.
point would have just said, "You know what? I put in this time
Yeah.
and I spent all this money because you didn't know how it was gonna turn out, right?
Nope.
So many people stay in the rut
Yep.
when there's so much more available. So to walk
That
us
that's
that
a great question. So for months, I had a lot of friends in the program. I didn't particularly um, synchronize well with the staff, with the teachers, with faculty, but that was because they knew I was unhappy and I didn't know it. So denial has played an enormous role in my life many more times than once. I think it's the most powerful force in the world. And what you're talking about is somebody in my position. And I tried so hard to deny, no, I want to be a physical therapist. I love being a physical therapist. I love helping people. La, 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 la. And every day was a struggle. So when I was supposed to come back, I went and talked to one of the faculty members. And he said, "You don't belong here." And I was sobbing, and "How dare you say I don't belong here? You don't know me." And I was everything that was he said, "You don't belong here." I said, "Are you saying I can't come back?" He said, "I'm saying you don't belong here." And it
Mhm,
was excruciating because I had to call my mother, the single mother, and say,
mhm.
"We spent all our money and I got nothing." And of course, she was ashamed and she was angry, and I was too, and I was too. So, in most ways, it was forced upon me. Had it not been, Jen, I might still be a physical therapist and hating it. I might.
Yeah.
We'll never
Yeah.
really know.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, what advice do you have for someone? Because I know there are people who are like, and I've been there. I'm like, I know this is not working out.
Yeah.
And for me, it's values alignment.
Core
Like,
values,
I
everything.
don't, and we don't talk about that enough.
No.
We don't talk about, like, even when you said, like, hey, I asked people why they want to start a business, and like, you want to be your own boss. You're like, okay, tie that to a value for
Yes,
me,
exactly.
because
Exactly.
if you don't have the value, you're not going to wake up excited to do the thing. But what advice do you have someone that
So
in their heart knows, but ugh, they
it's
got to
fun.
jump?
It's really funny you should say that and very timely. If you look at my email signature line, my I'm sorry, signature block, it gives all my core values and I've turned them into statements. This
Oh,
is this, this is this. So I live by those every single day. And everybody, when they get an email from me, they know what my core values are: driven by empathy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
oh,
So part of working with a career counselor is you need to draft up, most people know it as a value proposition for your resume. Some people call it a value prop. Some people call it a brand. I tend to call it a band. A brand value
yeah.
prop sounds like, I don't know, like you're getting a new car and you're getting certain features. I don't love that. So I love brand better, although that has cereal written all over it too. So I don't know if they're either any good. But many coaches start with the important things. What are your transferable skills and what do they drive in the workplace? So we talk about your transferable skills: strategic thinking, critical thinking, time management, empathic, active listening, kindness, um, intuition, innovation, that kind of thing. We talk about all that. That starts to get people thinking a little bit about, am I getting to use all these wonderful transferable skills that are part of my DNA? Because they're not learned, they're you. Then we
Mhm.
talk about what results do those soft skills drive in the workplace. Marketing, relationship building, partnership building, team building, professional growth and development. And we link those two together. Most coaches will do that. And it's a great exercise to get people thinking about whether they're using their stuff. I add a last sentence to it, which is, what are your core values? It says something like, I thrive best, or I do my best work in an environment that fosters blah, blah, and blah. Whatever those blahs are and whatever those soft skills are, once we get done with this branding exercise, I'm able to look at them and say, now, is your next job, if it's a lot like your last job, going to speak to those? If not, you're not going to be happy. And your performance is going to show it, just like it did for me in physical therapy.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. We get them to drill down into what's important to them and what is going to make them want to get up in the morning. And it takes a while. Does.
Yeah. 'Cause, I love so much of that, and I think I don't know if it's our age, our season in life, like, at some point in, like, wisdom hits you, it's either forced upon you or it hits you.
Yep.
I really believe that, or you're gonna remain sleeping, to
Yep.
be honest. Those are your 3
Yes.
choices. But what you're saying is from our perspective in selling, I actually have a tool called Your Unique Sales DNA. So it's
There
funny
you
that you
go.
said DNA
Hmm.
because what we find is people launch into tactics, they launch into performance, they launch into the paycheck, and it's like, I am just zeroing in
Yep.
on an end result and skipping the entire experience.
Yep. Yep.
Like, literally skipping the
Literally.
entire experience,
Yep.
and it's like, you can't s like, from my perspective, you can't sell to people, they
No,
won't buy from you
they won't. Yep.
if you're drastically different than them and you're not as a matter of fact, your secret sauce, and I think the same is true in work, your
Yep.
secret sauce is your DNA.
It is.
That's the one thing that makes
You can't teach one
you
thing,
can't teach it.
and you can't really get better at or worse at. You can show it in more places, but it is what it is.
Yes,
I
and
think,
no one can compete with it. It's
yeah,
yours.
that's why we call it a value prop or brand. It's your brand. So, I think as a single woman, I was battling 2 things. Again, at Waste Management, I kept telling myself, "You love this." And I did love the mentoring and the coaching. I really did, because I had a huge staff,
Right.
but I didn't really like anything else that much. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I was battling that against, you love never having to worry about money again. And again, given my upbringing and my background, that
Yes.
was a carrot, man. That was a huge carrot. And so as the years have gone by, basically my salary has shrunk a little bit, with the next job shrunk a little bit, next job shrunk a little, and I found, wow, again, I had savings. In fairness, I had a little bit of a cushion, but I found out I can live on so much less money than I ever, 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 ever
Right?
imagined. And so these are just lessons you learn to feed your tank in a different way.
Yeah,
And it's
and
so much better.
so yeah, so much better. Because I was just gonna ask you, and I know people say this, but until you experience it, it's not about the money.
Never you thought it was, and you for a
100.
long time, you think it was for sure,
And you tell yourself,
because
right?
and they say money doesn't buy happiness, and that's a little bit trite. What it does buy is peace. So if
Yes,
I never have to worry that my roof needs replacing, that's a kind of peace. If I
right.
never have to worry when my hot water tank floods the basement, that's a kind of peace. So I don't want to write that off. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to say that we just say but there are sums of money you don't need,
Yes,
and that sums of money that will still bring you peace. And you
yes.
just don't need that trip to Malibu every year, for example.
And let's talk about this though, because this is the trap I think a lot of people fall into is, okay, there's this this, mm, this imagined sense of peace that I need in the future.
Mhm.
If the roof leaks, if the washing machine breaks, if, there's
Yep.
that, right?
Yep.
And then there's the piece of every single day, because there's a difference between
I
like,
agree.
hey, not an optimum job and like this is sucking my soul
Yep.
dry
I
kind
agree.
of job.
I agree.
There is no, and I think honestly, what's really interesting is the woman who, like you, makes the jump and finds out you didn't die. You didn't
So true.
like
It's so true.
you
Yeah.
didn't die. Like
Yep.
one of my favorite musicals is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Love it.
And I there's the scene where he's in the dungeon, and it's right before the intermission, and it's right before that "Go, Go, Go, Joseph" song, that, iconic song. But there's a line in that that's like, "Hey, we've seen the end of the story,
Yeah.
and it works out okay.
Yeah. You're
So
right.
go for it." And we don't have enough faith in, like, one of the things to me is whenever I get nervous, and I have your same affliction, and I will call it an affliction, the the safety affliction, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember back in the day, like, what I used to call, do you remember when we used to call debit cards magic line cards? I
Oh,
I
yes.
so I remember,
We are the same age.
right. I remember playing, like, debit card roulette at
Yep.
the grocery store. I remember playing, ignition roulette. Will the
Mhm.
car start
Mhm.
today?
Mhm.
I remember not having enough money at the end of my month. I have lived through all of those
Yeah.
things,
And you didn't die.
and I didn't die. And
No.
what's really interesting is I, it's always worked out. Like every time I get
Yes.
myself
Yes.
all,
That's
I'm like,
exactly it.
girl, you got decades of evidence here. You
Exactly
got
it.
decades of evidence.
When I lost my job at Waste Management, I was talking to my BFF of all time. She's the BFF of BFFs of BFFs. And I don't typically cry in front of people, but I was obviously emotional. I'm very worried. And she said, "Have you met you?"
Yeah.
And I said, "What the hell does that mean?" She said, "You always land on your feet. You make me crazy because you always land on your feet." And I had to give her some credit there. I always had, and I always did. And it always makes me think back of for what I was making when I just graduated college and I was just trying to make ends meet for a little tiny bit. I was an administrative assistant, so I think I was making $10,000 a year, maybe. And I lived in an apartment in Davison, and I had a budget book. And you paid your rent, you paid your this, you paid your this, you paid your this, and then you had the incidentals. And I had $100 for incidentals every month. That was movies, that was fun food. I never ever remember feeling sad, ever. It never made me feel like I can't believe I have to live this way. I was perfectly happy. So sometimes I remember that too,
Yeah.
because I was proud of myself that I was making it work. And that's your purpose that you're always looking for. Not so much the buck.
Yeah. And I would say too, for people listening, I don't think the message is go for less. It's alignment.
Yeah,
It is
it's alignment.
like the one thing I didn't know, in all sincerity, was that you should be watching out for alignment. Like,
Mhm.
is this is this of my highest value?
Yep.
Do I get to spend time in my gifts? Am I working with people that actually want to play the
Yes,
same
yes,
game?
yes, yes. That
And
that Go
and
ahead,
there's
go ahead.
and there's like this scarcity mindset around jobs and careers, because
Yes.
everybody wants you to think, "Oh my gosh, you're never gonna get another job.
Mhm,
Oh
mhm,
my gosh, there's
mhm.
only one job. One
Yeah,
job
there's
out
only one
there.
job, yeah.
You had it. So now," and I'm like,
That's why I'm so honored to coach people now because they have that mindset. And generally speaking, they land a job within 3 to 6 months. That's the average, depending on your industry. And a lot of times in the beginning, because they had just been marginalized, they have
"Yes,
lost all sense of really reality, all sense of what's possible, all sense of what they bring to the table, all sense of who can use them and why. It's gone. Marginalization will do that in any situation. When you're marginalized in a relationship, you don't trust yourself in the next relationship. So it's the same thing. And it's just such an honor for me to go, no, you have got to trust me. That is not the reality. And 9 times out of 10, it's not. And they get jobs that they like better. And that's, of course, the golden ticket.
right?" Like,
Yeah,
and a job, by the way, that you wouldn't have
never.
ever looked at, looked for, experienced, any of that.
Yep.
None of that, you know?
Nope.
I've heard somebody say recently, they said, God doesn't ever say no. He says, "Not now,
Yeah.
not for you, wrong direction."
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. Like, and I can look back on my career and go, yeah, in the moment, I
Yeah.
wasn't trusting. In the moment, I
Mhm.
traded security for alignment, and
Yep.
in the end, there's always a trade. So if you trade security for alignment
Mhm.
and values, you're really kinda chipping away a little bit, I think, at your soul
At your soul.
because
You
'cause
are.
it's just it's not I and we gotta normalize your job can be an experience that fills your cup
Yeah.
every day. It's not gonna
Absolutely.
be perfect days every day,
Absolutely.
but if you're aligned, you're like, "Hey, I'll take the good with the bad.
Yep.
I will." And I know how to navigate. I know how
Yep.
to navigate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what is it like now to look back on your life? Like, what would Ricky Schwartz about to retire
Hmm.
tell Ricky Schwartz from, like, the beginning of her career and the middle of her career?
Hmm. That's really hard because in that whole journey, I also found faith, and that changes the way you think about everything. So I wouldn't have been able to tell my younger self, rely on a higher power because I didn't believe in one, nor did I ever expect to. So I wish I could have said that and given me the hope and the confidence that that can bring.
Like, "You're not alone, girl.
Like, you're
You're
not
not
alone.
doing
I
it alone."
didn't have that at all. I thought
Yeah,
I was, because my parents weren't the best, and because I was single, I really thought I was the most alone, alone, alone. Now I got married and had a wonderful husband, but even then I felt like he was a musician, right? It was still my job. I still had to take care of us. I still had to make sure we paid the bills. Once I found faith, that's obviously a different story. And
yeah,
and I think then I began to have a lot more faith in what my friend was saying, which is you're going to land on your feet. In her case, it's because she knew me very well. In my case, it's because I knew God very well. So
right?
right, so
Yeah?
it's not the same thing I would tell that person. Now it's, you have so much evidence, Ricky Schwartz. You just stop worrying.
Yes,
It's gonna be okay.
right?
Yeah.
You are supported, you are loved.
Mhm.
There God's out there trying to clear your path, and
Yep.
I often visualize, honestly, like, God, like, "Hey, we're gonna clean out the closet and taking stuff out that I no
Yeah.
longer need, but
Yeah.
I am addicted to or need." And then me shoving that stuff back in the
Back in the
closet.
closet. Oh, yeah, did it all the time. Did it all the time.
I'm like,
I
wait,
remember when I
what is that?"
30, or I was about to turn 30, I thought, "I'm 30 years old almost, and I don't have any purpose, I don't have any joy, I don't have anything that's driving me." And so I went to church with a friend to appease the friend. And that day's sermon was about purpose and what it means to have it and so forth. And that's when I started to see that I was maybe looking in the wrong direction, but it doesn't happen overnight. And it's not exclusively faith. A lot of it is just circumstance and support from people. And it's been a very windy road. And I'm very, very, very pleased. Am I still a catastrophizer at times? Yep. Am I still a worrier at times? Yep. Particularly with today's political climate, I worry all the time, but it's a different kind of worry. It's more one rooted in things that are more solid than sand.
Yeah, yeah. Love, love, love that. So, what advice do you
Mm.
have for someone who is unsure about what their next step should be, and they're listening to us and going, "It's easy for you guys to
Yeah.
say."
Yeah.
I'm just and having worked, like, I love your experience because when you and I talked one time recently about the podcast,
Yeah.
you talked about, and maybe this is part of the advice you give people, is, I'm not trying to lead you on here, but, this whole notion of like, "Hey, it's okay to grieve something as you either lose it or let go of it."
Hmm.
That's a norm, like, 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 take me
Yeah.
through the process of, like, you've made a decision now, either voluntarily or it's been made for you, and you have to take a next step.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say that denial is going to play a huge role in this time of your life. Huge. Denial, in my experience, plays the biggest role when you're scared,
Mhm.
when you're overwhelmed, when you don't want to believe that something has happened. So you kind of turn it a little bit to fit your notion of what it could or should be. So people tell themselves, I loved my last job. I hate that I got let go from it, but it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, you know what? It is. But until you walk through, I can't believe this happened. I'm scared out of my mind. I'm grieving. I'm angry. If you don't let yourself walk through those emotions, you're not going to heal. I mean, it's the oldest story in the book. Walk through it, not around it, blah, blah, blah. There's a million different platitudes. But truly, try to make sure denial doesn't, one, steer you away from what you're really feeling. And
Mm.
number two, steer you towards something that you only think will make you happy because you're scared of trying anything else. So
Oh.
try to be really aware of your denial because it's going to put you in all these directions that are self harmful for sure. So
Ah,
I'm going to say address your denial. And then, as a bit of self promotion,
okay. Give it
get
to
a
me.
career life coach, such as My Turn Life Coaching, because we're going to go through those core values. We're going to go through your branding or your value proposition. We're going to go through those things that are in your DNA. We're going to make sure that you are where you are realistically and not delusionally. And it takes a second
Mm.
pair of eyes, generally speaking, to
Mm.
do that. So, self promotion aside, it
Hey,
does take someone like that.
well, but it's true. It's true. You don't know what you don't know, first of all.
Hmm. Hmm.
The way your brain works, it is wired for
Protective.
denial in so many ways. And you do need someone like your BFF to say,
Hmm.
"Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Do you
Yep.
know you? Do
Yep.
you know
Yep.
you?" So, where does somebody find you? And I will put your
That's
information in
okay.
the show
So
notes.
my website is www.myturnlifecoaching.com. And I started it in the beginning before I started working for Right Management. I called it My Turn Life Coaching because I was mostly coaching women who had spent their entire lives nurturing others. And I wanted them to know it was their turn, right? So
Oh,
My Turn Life Coaching, the icon is the raised hand, right? My turn now.
my turn.
So, My Turn Life Coaching, and we can talk about self saboteurs, which is huge during the process of denial. And I have belonged to a really good program that teaches what your self saboteurs, how they started, what they
Mm,
cause, what they
mm.
continue to cause. And then we can get into what the marketplace really expects from new job seekers because it's not what you think. I guarantee you, it's not what you think. So, you really need a very structured approach to getting back into the job market if that's what you want to do.
Oh, well, Rikki, you have given us a lot of juicy nuggets, like really, really good juicy nuggets. I think anyone who is life coaching, like never mind career coaching, call this
Mhm.
woman up for some damn life coaching. I'm telling. Can you imagine having her in your corner? Listen. You're an excellent advocate. I can tell you that, and that's one of the things that I appreciate the most about you. And thank you so much for being on our podcast. And I
Welcome.
will put the ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna put her info in the show notes. So do not hesitate to reach out if any
Do
of this
not hesitate. I'm here
resonates.
for you.
As
Thank
she
you, Jen.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much, Ricky.
You're welcome.